this is a space. This is a space for a certain discovery of myself and a discovery of how I can connect with other men. That uh, doesn't need to be a competitive or immature, or like, it can be honest, it can be real, it can be authentic, and it can be sharpening on the aspect that needs to be sharpened. So because it's authentic, I'm not hiding necessarily parts that I don't want to show, but the place is welcoming me to share what I want to share. There is not the pressure of being in a way, being a certain way. It's just bringing yourself, right? And so that was for me life changing in that moment. I was just like, I have never experienced something like this.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Going Out Looking In, the podcast where we're exploring the human experience through conscious conversations. My name is Maxi, I'm your host, and today we are talking about the upcoming Immersion of Sacred Sons in beautiful Zurich, Switzerland. I took the opportunity to talk to my brother Matteo, who I've met earlier this year in beautiful Ireland for Convergence X, who is co-hosting and co-leading this beautiful 2-day event in Zurich. We are talking about all of the questions that are floating around in the orbit of men's work that we have collected over the past couple of months and years. So what to expect when coming to these kind of events, what to bring, how to prepare, do I have to worry and ask myself and reflect and like all these kind of questions. Like, is it about crying? Do I need to have a breakdown? Like, do I have to have specific requirements? Like, all of these questions we are talking about, and also sharing some of our personal experiences. This is a little bit different to the other conversations here on the podcast. It's really specifically targeted to this event and men's work in general. So for all the women listening, this might be interesting for you to hear, to get an idea what it is that we're doing on these weekends. And also, if you want to recommend that to your partner, to your husband, to your boyfriend, to your brother, to your father, to all the men in your life that you feel like could benefit from this work, this might be a beautiful insight. And for all the men listening, obviously, if you ever felt the call of stepping into like a deeper aspect of yourself, to lead in a different fashion or start leading in your life in general, then this might be very interesting for you. I'm also very pleased to announce that there's an exclusive offer tied to this podcast. So to all the listeners of Going Out Looking In, there is a exclusive 20% discount code called Ready to Lead. That's Ready to Lead, all caps and together, for 20% discount for the upcoming Immersion in Zurich, Switzerland. If there are any more questions, you can always reach out to me directly on Instagram at MaxiBartel, or just comment under the podcast here, and I try to answer all of your questions to the best of my abilities. All of the further links to Sacred Sons and the beautiful work that we are offering is also down in the show notes. And so without further ado, let's hit the ground running with this episode about the beautiful upcoming event. What is an immersion? What to expect? What to do? Etc. Etc. Much fun, beautiful insights as always. I hope that you're all well. It's good to be back. And yeah, I'm sending so much love to you wherever you are in the world. So for me, the podcast is a ceremonial space. So I always invite us all to check in, to ground, to arrive in the conversation. So if you feel called, you can just close your eyes, and wherever you are listening to this and watching, obviously if you're in the car, don't close your eyes. Put your maybe your phone down, rest it somewhere. Maybe you can sit down. Maybe if you are on a walk, you can just become a little bit more present to your body. Maybe you want to sit down. If there's a bench, just bring a little bit more presence and attention to the physical form, to the beautiful body of ours, and just enjoy a little bit of silence and stillness. And I like to use the analogy of a wardrobe. So coming into the hallway of a house, going through the door, and you put your shoes off, you take your coat off, you put it in the wardrobe, and we use that as a metaphor to just like leave the stuff, that the to-dos, the thoughts, all the things that we potentially have to worry and care about. We just put that as a metaphorical coat and hang it into our wardrobe, and all of that can be attended to after this conversation. So just put it there to rest, and we are left with undivided presence. And just lingering here in that aroma of presence. Using the beautiful gift of the breath to connect us to the body. Feel the breath coming in through the nose, all the way into our lungs, maybe even deeper into the belly. We feel how the belly is expanding with the breathing in, and as we exhale, the air is leaving the body through our mouth. And we find a natural rhythm with that. There's no expectation here, no agenda, nothing to do, nowhere to go. Just breathing in through the nose, breathing out through the mouth. And with that, just going to offer some words here to create a space of safety and security and openness. Dear beautiful creation, on this day, please facilitate a loving connection between Matteo and myself. Guard our tongues so we can speak what needs to be said, so we can hear what needs to be heard, so we can share what needs to be shared. We recognize these beautiful gifts of life, the nectar, the food in our tummies, the roof over our heads, the soil underneath our feet. All of these are gifts, and we are grateful for them. May we remember those who came before us, those who are there with us now, and those who will come after us. We're infinitely grateful and humble for all of these things. We thank you, we thank you, we thank you. And with that, we're just taking 3 breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. And in, Anali. And out, Skilama. Anali. Skilama. Anali. Hold at the top. Skilama. And with that, we're in. Inviting you back into the space, slowly, gently opening your eyes, becoming aware of the light again. Always my favorite part is to be getting acquainted with the world again after becoming a little bit more introspect. Yeah, brother Matteo, good to have you on. It's a pleasure to have a fellow Sacred Sons brother again on the podcast. It's been a long-standing relationship with Sacred Sons by now, and it's always exciting. And so with that, welcoming you in. And just, what are you present to on this glorious day?
Thank you for having me, Maxi. And I feel really grateful, really grounded, and just feeling how in this moving world that moves very fast, it's always good to take a breath and ground ourselves in this moment. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. And there is a sort of, for me, it's very easy as we've done sort of like this very introspect and deep interpersonal work together. I feel like we are speaking the same language and we can sort of skip a lot of the small talk and straight go into like the core of what moves us. And I just want to invite this conversation to be sort of like an open space for all sorts of people tuning in. We also have women listening. I actually see it in the demographics. There's quite a lot of women listening to the podcast who, as we know with Sacred Sons, it's oftentimes the women who bring in the men. It's like, oh, I would wish for my partner to come, and so for all the women listening, this can be an invitation to do that, obviously. And for all the men listening, we want to take this opportunity to let you in a little bit on what to expect and how also Matteo and myself connected. And so I would just like to use that as a starting point and as a segue. Like, just first, your own personal experience with Sacred Sons, with men's work in general. Like, was Sacred Sons the first starting point for you in coming into this work, or how did you come into the orbit of men's work?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the question. And often in many cultures, women are seen as initiators, and in some ways, right? And I've seen that in Sacred Son as well. A lot of men. Personally, I received a video from my girlfriend at the time, like, oh, check this out. And I saw the video from my first immersion a few years ago, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. What is this? What is this? Is crazy. Like people drumming, men crying, and what is that? Yeah, it was definitely rocked me off my seat, and I was just like, okay, there is something out there for me. Um, and um, and so I feel like this is, I think we hear a lot the word of remembering, reawakening. There is a certain part of our psyche right now, our self, that is longing for something more than just what the day to day, than what we the grind and all of that. We are lacking something that somehow our culture isn't providing. And I'm specifically speaking about more Western culture. And I feel that for me was the same, was that longing for a connection, being part of something, and feeling part of not only my own journey, but being part of a brotherhood, feeling something else related to the relationship with men. And so personally, I've when I grow up, I always had relationship with men, which was more on the level of maybe some competition, some friends, but there never was necessarily a place where um, vulnerability was open as a space to go deeper, and where there was a net of support between men. And in many cultures, that normal, right? There is an elder group of men, and there's been initiations and this type of structure where men would understand their relationship with themselves in relationship to their kin, to their culture. And so in a place where this is missing, I felt that that was the calling for me. Like, okay, there is something out there that I'm seeking, that I don't know what that is. And so my first experience was that. I was just like, oh my God, I went to another country. I went in this circle around men, and like most of us, when we get into a new space, it's like, what are we doing here, right? What is happening? And my realization later on was that this is a space. This is a space for a certain discovery of myself and a discovery of how I can connect with other men. That doesn't need to be uh, competitive or immature, or like, it can be honest, it can be real, it can be authentic, and it can be sharpening on the aspect that needs to be sharpened. So because it's authentic, I'm not hiding necessarily parts that I don't want to show, but the place is welcoming me to share what I want to share. There is not a pressure of being a certain way. It's just bringing yourself, right? And so that was for me life changing in that moment. I was just like, I have never experienced something like this. I have never been seen or confronted or held, or all of these aspects in one place. And there is all the connection with the ceremonial piece, so connecting with the land, connecting with reconnecting, so remembering those ways that our ancestor used to have in their day to day.
Right.
So there is a piece of reconnection which is personal, on the sense of, wow, like it reverberates between me and with other men that are doing the same thing, or they are having a path and they are here to do this, and we are part of something, right? So yeah, that was my awakening to that reality that didn't exist before.
Right. So, question came up for me is like, if I was to listen to this and never had any experience with men's work or gatherings of men, it's just like, why was this like, why would that be important to connect for men, to connect amongst men? Why do you think that is important?
Yeah, that's a very good question. It's a very good question. I believe that usually there needs to be something else we are seeking. There needs to be a part of us that says, this thing needs to be different, or I want something more of that, or I need to change something. There needs to be a desire for an alternative at the root, right? There is something that we might say we see outside and it's like, oh, like this looks nice. And I think in this event, the benefit of coming to this event is simply to not only expand what I know of myself, but also expand what it means to be in a group, in a community. So meaning, I'm giving a word to you. I'm telling you, we are meeting at this time. And because we are doing this work, I know that I can trust you. There is a culture of accountability. So this is a very practical thing. I can trust you because you have shown that to me previously. And again, there is always a space for errors and there's always a space for growth and all of this. But I know that we can relate in that way because I know I can trust your word. And I know that you're standing for certain things. And so there is a certain understanding that if we're going to create something together, you're going to uphold certain values and you're going to fight for those values. So it's the understanding that there are other men out there that are willing to open up and be honest and be authentic and do the work for themselves. And for me personally, having these men around changed my life and inspire me to be better. And I can feel supported. I can feel heard when I need someone. I'm like, wow, I'm holding the world on my shoulder. I'm doing all of these kind of things, and sometimes I'm like, oh, I just need to call a brother. I just need to reach out. I can do that.
Yeah. Yeah, beautifully said. I'm already like, it's like a somatic sort of like remembrance for me. Always like sitting in this chair before this microphone, and then like the camera there, seeing you, and then I'm like already in the podcasting mode and like want to go down and ask even more questions and go even deeper. But just like offering like a little bit of my experience here as well as a sprinkle, like I really resonate with that, and I feel, yeah, just like when it comes to, never have attended an event and like seeing these pictures online, I feel like it can be sometimes a little bit confusing, and it's really hard to put into words in general. It's like a feeling that you potentially come with and leave with, and I can just say that like that I've been really missing sort of like a magical sprinkle and spark over the course of the last couple of months in my life. And especially leading up to Convergence, our last like big event in Europe. So Convergence is the annual gatherings of Sacred Sons, and they recently introduced them like sort of like divided into continents. So it used to be just like one convergence for like globally, and now they split it up into Europe and North America, Mexico, Canada. So Matteo and I just met at Convergence 10 in Europe just a couple of months ago in Ireland. And I really felt like there was something missing for me, because like doing like intense work on myself, and then I don't know, I felt like I got a little bit lazy and comfortable with everything. It's just like, yeah, I've done that, and then I don't have to really engage in it too much again. It's just like it works in my subconscious, which it does. And at the same time, it's really like a practice, which needs to be cultivated regularly, I feel. And so for me, like these events are just like always really anchoring me back, like bringing me back into something that ordinary life, like day-to-day life, is by design. It's also not, I feel like it's also totally fine that it's not every day like a like a like a space like Convergence, or like a Sacred Sons kind of like setting, because like everything has its time and its place and its nature. And I feel, my day to day and connecting with the people like at work and everything has its very own flavor, and it comes with distinct challenges, and that's all beautiful. And I really appreciate to have like 2, 3, 4 events minimum per year where I can sort of like come back to and experience a whole different level of my human experience. And like I say, by design, the spaces that, are created within, like amongst men, has a very unique and distinct quality, I feel. Something that just cannot be replicated in a space with, let's say, where women or children or elders, like everything has a very own quality. and I don't judge which is better. I just say it's different, and I just say like a space amongst men brings out a certain aspect of men that can be used to, you know, really do important work that will then benefit the whole, you know. So as soon as you re-enter into a space, you know, in a societal space where you know, other people are present, it'll show its effects. But that has really been my experience, that it introduces me to a completely different level of like emotional depth, of sincerity, authenticity, accountability. And it also makes me see men in a different way, really like as brothers, no matter where we are coming from. And it sort of like also manifests in my language that I use. So I will address just like men in the world, you know, I really will address them as my brother, you know, and I will, you know, like my body language, how I interact with men is just way more sort of like inclusive, and I invite them in because I see them as a part of myself. Because and this is sort of like what we're cultivating, the culture that we're cultivating within Sacred Sons. I would say it's like everyone is like a brother of each other, and we are all somewhat walking the same path. You know, the story might look different, but we are sort of like a group of brothers, you know, at the end of the day. And that's globally, you know, no matter where you're coming from, the culture, the skin color, the language you speak, everything is just, you know, we are brothers, you know. And that is something that I most of the time really leave with. Yeah, so having said all that, I guess I would be curious to hear, like, with an immersion coming up now, and you know, you and I sitting here, we're both going to be there, and really excited about it. Like, what compelled you to bring this work to Zurich and to do an immersion, and also with the immersion itself, like what is different from the format compared to like a convergence, for example, or like an EMX, which are different events that we are hosting within Sacred Sons?
So yeah, thank you for the question. Yeah, there are many things as you were talking. I was like, oh, there's a lot of subject coming together. We definitely live in a culture. I think one thing that I would like to touch upon is that the discourse of our culture is a lot about right and wrong. So it is a lot about whether if what you're doing is right, whether if what you're doing is the thing to do or not. And so it's difficult sometimes to explain the nuances of a certain experience that someone else didn't experience, and to bring a person into a space which is a transformative space, right? I would say that we as humans should be able to understand opposite how we can do work in community, we can do work in family, we can do work in you know, however situation, and we can do work separately, and we can do women's work, and we can do men's work, and all of that has certain value and a certain focus and a depth that is different because he's targeting certain aspect of that specific reunion, right? If you're going to have a metal group, you're not going to talk about fairies, you're going to talk about metal, right? And that's the same thing with men's work. With this space specifically, the idea is that it's not only that you're doing the work by yourself, right? Like you're saying, like I do all this work for myself, and you know, we can get trapped into this thing that I become my own therapist, which doesn't work. Is that we are not only bringing our things, but we are reflecting our story in the stories of others. So I'm hearing your story, I'm hearing these stories. My story is getting heard. And what happens is that you're being seen. And so by being seen, there is something that amplifies this experience and can create a catalyst for future transformation. So as you were saying, like having different events in a year brought expansion to your life, because there is this opening and this possibility to see your story not only as yours, right? I have heard my stories in hundreds of faces, in hundreds of men, because our situations are different, but many of the things that are happening are similar. And we are so much more similar than so that we are different most of the time. And so there is that piece of community, that piece of coming together, of understanding that we are not alone. And so that's why we're doing it, because we are not alone. And in a culture that makes us feel that way, because it's where everything is about the individual thing, coming into a place of community, coming into a place of brotherhood, it's a nurturing for our souls. And so segueing into my personal desire and vision is that it's where I live right now. I live in Switzerland. Is how can I revitalize the culture of these men around this country, and how can other men come here? And it's like if you're an agriculture, right? You want to revitalize the soil. And so for me, that's how I see it. We're like reconnecting, putting our feet on the floor, this type of thing. We are just meeting with other men and opening up and like discovering more of ourselves. And for me, bringing it to Switzerland, I'm really excited about it, because I know it's going to be a powerful experience, and it's going to be 2 days. Like my first experience, it was also an immersion, and there is a difference in the depth of being with a certain container of 2 days, 4 days. I think the immersion is a perfect experience for someone that is curious, that is wants to experience this, that is he has a feeling inside to put his feet, want to touch the water, and it's such a great experience, because in the time zone of 30 minutes, you get to connect with men like maybe you were never connected in your life. I had that, after 30 minutes, like would be able to connect with the men that I was present, and I didn't even know them, and we would be able to share at a certain depth that it doesn't happen usually. And so for me, the invitation for someone who's listening, for someone who's on the other side and is maybe curious or doesn't know and heard of it, is to listen to himself and to know, in other parts of his life, what is the choice. If the choice is this fear and excitement, and we're choosing excitement, we're choosing to open up in that choice, there is more that is coming for us. And I think for me, that was the same thing. When I chose to do this event, there was a part of me was excited, and there was a little bit of fear, like, okay, what is happening? What's going to happen there? But in the end, the reward was so much bigger. Yeah. So this is my invitation.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I echo that big time. I feel like an immersion is such a beautiful place where everything is possible, really. Like there's enough space for men, I feel, to go in and have a really deep experience. But then by the design of the events, you can, you're gonna go home after that. You're gonna go home. Or maybe if you're coming to Zurich in that case, you go to your hotel. You have time to integrate what happened, and then arrive the next day. So we are not sleeping on the premise. So everyone has like some space, right? It's not full on, like intense, 24/7 together. No, we are all sort of like arriving in the morning, we're doing some work, and then in the evening, we can all sort of like rest and integrate. And that's what I particularly also like about immersions, is that for people who are new to this work, it can be a lot. And so I really appreciate having time between like 2 days to rest and to be with yourself and to like just see what comes up. And most of the time, the immersions are in cities, and just like walk around in a city, and like having that whole thing from packing the bags to get on a plane to go somewhere to arriving to do a day of work, and then in the evening to stroll around the city, and all of that is part of the experience for me. Like always when I go on events with Sacred Sons, the experience starts when I pack my bag. Like that's already like part of the ceremony. And like what kind of like state am I in going to the airport, or like driving on the train, or like it's all part of it already. Like what am I listening to, am I journaling, like, and really to savor all of that, like take that in for a weekend for yourself. And just like no matter what that brings up, all the questions, the insecurities, the doubts, the fears, the excitement, everything is allowed to be there. And I feel like that is for me like that sort of like undivided acceptance, that sort of unconditional like holding of each other, is what really makes this work for me like palpable, because that is something that I carry with me in my day to day. Is like, since I am doing work with Sacred Sons and doing these events, like I can, like there's so much more compassion towards myself. And it's not about like doing things better by the book and doing everything right and checking every box all the time, showing up perfectly all the time. But it's actually like, how do I hold myself in times when I don't show up as I want to? And how do I hold myself when I quote unquote fail or make a mistake? It's like, what are mistakes? But like, I'm just like dealing with these ramifications in a very different way, because I've experienced how it is to, first of all, share about that in a group, and then also hear other men share about their experience. And that is something that does something to the human psyche and to our being, to have a permission slip, right, from other men and from other people who just like say, yeah, I feel the same way. It just does something to us, that we feel included and we feel validated, and our experience feels validated, and we feel part of something. And that is just like, it's like nectar for the soul. It's just like so healing. And yeah, that's just those are just like some things that are coming through for me when I think about like an immersion, or these kind of events in general. um yeah. Now, um how do we land this plane? What is important for you to share, within the context of this conversation, with the event coming up? What do you feel like is important for you to share?
Yeah. So yeah, what you touched upon over there was related to peak experience and integration. Those are all aspects of a certain experience like this. You can go through a peak experience, and the integration is still part of the whole event. So what are we are able to put in from all these connection, all of these beautiful experiences, and that's where the beauty, I think, is those little micro changes happening in our life. And as you were saying, is the ability to the responsibility, so the ability to respond to a certain trigger, the ability to respond to life in a different ways, and to break the pattern that we have been trained ourselves to use, for better for worse. And for me is to, if I would invite a man, I would um, ask him to stick to that longing, to stick to that feeling of what do I want for my life, and like tapping into that, tapping into to the feeling of I'm here, like life happened, and I am here. Uh, I won the race with other spermatozoid at 200 million. There's so many, the chances of being alive are so rare. And so in that opportunity of being here is what do I want to do with my abilities? And with that, to the ability to let yourself be inspired and be imaginative of your own potential. And sometimes we're not at that place. We're not at the place where we can be happy or we can be inspired by life. Life happens, and we are into some dark places or into some difficult places, and that's where this place is so useful and rich, because when I say all of you is welcome, it's what I mean. And that's why um, the medicine comes from all places, doesn't come from the positive happy guy, and just doesn't come from only the sadness and the depression or whatever. It comes from all the different voices that are enriching the place of communion, and it comes from different places, and we all um, get changed from connecting.
Yeah, beautiful. And like I feel, especially when you and I are talking and how I experienced you with Convergence, I so much appreciate like all the different flavors that all the different men are bringing into the container, into the event. Like within Sacred Sons, you will realize that there's, for me, it makes like it shapes my whole experience, who I'm obviously going to be in the container with, like the kind of men and the kind of leaders. And I feel the beautiful thing with Sacred Sons is like the variety of leaders that you have, and each one has a very distinct
Mm-hmm.
sort of like nuance and how they do things, and they are sort of like where they put more focus and their like specialization. And so with you, I really like your physicality. That's sort of like what I also really like, you know, to really, and I feel like, you're going to bring this medicine through also now with the immersion in Zurich, really connecting to the body, and like feel your strength, and feel your power, that we carry within us, and it doesn't come with a
Yeah.
certain shape or form or whatever. No, it's like an individual experience. And that's something that, I feel like you are bringing through in a beautiful way, that I also really, yeah, really sort of like. Um, because, yeah, I mean, I know many men are stuck behind an office chair, and a laptop all day. So this is gonna shake you the fuck up, man. I'm gonna tell you like straight away. um,
For sure.
yeah. Um, and also with Peter, we have a beautiful, this is an opportunity also to connect to to these people, and to us, and we really want this to be, a European, we want to build something here, and so, as you can see with Matteo and myself, like we started both off as participants, and now, slowly moving into more like leadership and hosting events ourselves, and it's all possible, and inviting brothers in. I have a men's circle. I'm sure you're doing work outside of like these Sacred Sons events. And this is what it's about, it's about like bringing this work like into the events, but then also bringing it into our day-to-day lives and transform the workplace, and becoming better leaders within your family, within your partnership, within within your own life, just by yourself. How do you lead yourself? These are all areas that this work is penetrating. So that's also something that came through for me. Yeah. What do you feel like is So if there's someone listening now who's like, that sounds interesting, but I'm not sure, what would you tell them?
I will tell them it's okay. It's okay not to be sure. And it's okay to feel all that anybody feels, all the blockages, all those things. And it's actually great to be aware of it. After is a matter of awareness and choice. What you do with the information you have, what you choose to listen, and what you choose to make a choice. So this is your power. And for me, my aim here is to empower in the sense of grounding and reconnecting with our source of power, our ability to create in this life. So for me, I'm there. I'm there with you with whatever is happening. And at the same time, this is an opportunity to change things, to go deeper. And so sometimes, the right times come, right? Like moments are decided, and sometimes it's us, and sometimes it's both of them. And sometimes, the message, there is that beautiful image of the message coming as a light whisper, and then comes as a voice, and then comes as a wind, and then that destroys your house. And I think sometimes, when we become more aware of what is the whisper, and we know that is our intuition, and I say follow that. This is from my experience, from my life. But I'm not here to pushing anybody, or it's the path of everybody to continue. What I'm saying is that there is other ways to live. There is other ways to be more connected, and there is other ways to really creating the life that you wish for.
Yeah. What would you personally say this work has given you?
I think for me was a big piece was about seeing role models, or like being inspired by people who embody what they say. So as you mentioned, and I appreciate what you were saying about the embodiment, for me, the wisdom of our our body language, our body, what we are nurturing every day is the real depth. And for me, meeting men that are putting practice and they are saying what they do and they are present and they're listening and showing that masculine, that balanced presence that is there for me was life changing because showed me that there is other ways, showed me that there are people who are embodying that. There are other men who are embodying that, and so that seeing that outside allowed me to see that in myself.
Yeah. Yeah. You spotted, you got it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. And you know what? What was coming to mind. I would really like to have talked about the structure of what these days will look like. So
Yeah.
yeah. So basically, yeah. Why don't you lay it out for us real quick, so we
Yeah.
know what to expect, and also for people traveling to Zurich, what do they need to be
Yeah.
aware of, and yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So again, the immersion is going to be the 1st and the 2nd of November, which is a Saturday and a Sunday. It will start in the morning early, and we will gather by the location of the event. And then during the day, we're gonna do some activities. I don't want to give away all the things that we're gonna do, but in being practical, there is going to be pieces on the physical, and there is going to be pieces on exercises where we are able to, um, by hearing a story or listening to our story, we're gonna be able to reflect with other men and other places around the world because there are different stories. They're bringing different backgrounds. We're going to be able to open up spaces for invitation, which that means simply there's going to be a situation where maybe something is coming up and there is an invitation to going deeper into that. Why is that happening? It's about reframing the question. It's not like what am I going to get is like why things are happening in our life in a certain way and what can we become aware of and what we can change. So these exercises, the point is to understand deeper. So that would be closure of the first day around 5, and then the second day would be the same. So on the Saturday, people would have the time to go home or to go somewhere where they're renting and have the time for themselves to reflect, to integrate, and come the next day, and it will be the same thing until the end of the day. And what is really beautiful usually during this event is that easily people start to connect, and maybe they, if it flows, they eat together, or there is this exchange where there are these beautiful dialogues. For me, that's always been in these little moments that the nuggets arrive, that this intuition come through, and I can realize what I came here to realize.
Yeah. What would you recommend to a man wanting to join in the time leading up to the event? Is there any preparation needed? Do I need to bring something? Do I need to do something like before? Yeah.
For sure. We usually ask men to bring their personal item that they feel connected to, what if something is sacred for them. Our aspect in Sacred Son is a lot also about ceremony, like building a space that we are putting reverence to and dedication and devotion. So we are really aware about where we are and what we are connecting to, the space, keeping the space clear. And so for us also is for the participants to bring what they feel connected to, what they use to reconnect, whether if it's something to write on, whether it's something to wear, um, It can be a rattle, whatever is the thing that helps someone to reconnect and to come with this place of ceremony and devotion. Um, and then the willingness to experience.
Yeah, yeah, an open heart for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would double down on that as well. For all the brothers listening, like the journey starts basically, I said with packing the bags, but it starts actually even earlier. Like once you click on the button, once you decide, um, this like just brings them awareness to like how you're moving in the world, the relationships that you're engaging in, and the emotions coming up. Maybe it's like 4 weeks, then 2 weeks, then 1 week. Like, how do you feel? And whatever is your preferred method of reflecting on that. If you want to journal, if you want to, I don't know, talk to a friend about it, whatever it is, like bring some attention to like how you're feeling and reflect on that, and then really savor that. Like, this is something that you do for yourself. Like, yeah, there will be a monetary exchange, but this is an energetic exchange as well. So feel into like, okay, this is a time that you gift to yourself. So
Yeah.
really enjoy that, like savor and marinate in that. Like getting up to the event, like I said, to a new city, take in all of this experience that weekend, and really, with all that is there, like you said, it's not about like being completely relaxed and nonchalant about it. Like, you can be excited, you can be scared, it's all welcome. It's not, there's no perfect or right way to do that. Just bring everything. That would be my invitation.
Beautiful.
There is actually also for the listeners a discount code for all the listeners. And I will share that in the intro of this episode. I actually have to confirm all the details, but there will be an exclusive discount code for the listeners. I believe it's 20%. Like I said, I will include that in the intro and also in the show notes. So for all the men interested, there will be a link in the show notes for you to check out. It takes you directly to the page. There will be pictures, there will be information, there will be a video. You can always reach out to myself, Maxi Bartel on Instagram, and Matteo. Matteo, what's your handle?
My handle is matteo.integro on Instagram.
Beautiful. So you can always reach out to us. There will be a lighthouse call on, help me out here, brother.
The 8th.
8th of October, right?
Yeah, it's Thursday.
Yeah.
Check. I
8
think 8 from 7 to 8 p.m.
p.m. Central European time. So that is October 8th, 7 to 8 p.m. Central European time. Depending on the publishing date of this podcast, I'll try to get it out as soon as possible. Jump on that. You get a chance to talk to us, to ask questions. Peter will be there. And yeah, we'll address anything that is on your mind and heart. And yeah, and then let's just get ready, let's just get ready and do it,
Yeah.
I actually don't know anyone in this world who like booked something like this and went out and said that was not a good experience. Like,
Yeah.
it will be an experience, and you will take something away from it. It might be completely different to what you expect or what you were thinking beforehand, and that's part of the experience. So yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Thank you, Maxi.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me here. It's been an honor. And to all the men that are on the edge, I hope to see you in the circle. Join us.
Yeah, we're calling you in. Thank you, Matteo. So much looking forward to meet in the flesh again and do this work together. And yeah, thank you for your time, your presence, and all the wisdom you shared with us today. And yeah, I hope to see you soon.
Yeah, brother. Thank you so much. We will see each other soon. Yeah, November 1st to 2nd. Looking forward. Have a blessed day.
Beautiful. You too. Hey, beautiful listener, you have made it all the way through. And I want to take a moment to say thank you. And you can do me an enormous favor. It's all I'm going to ever ask from you. And that is to go to your podcast app right now. And if you enjoyed the episode, give the podcast a 5-star rating. If you want to write 1-2 words or sentences, even more powerful, even better. Thank you, already in advance. And also while you're at it, just click on that follow button, on that bell notification so that you never miss a new episode. All of that just contributes and it helps me to increase the reach of the podcast. That means I can attract bigger guests, and that means I can deliver more powerful episodes. So it's a tiny thing. I'm only gonna ask this little favor of you ever, not more. 10-15 seconds of your time, a couple of clicks, that's it. Makes a huge difference for me as a creator. So thank you so much.